in addition to having on-site regular classes, perhaps where there's infrastructure, with a building, with a library, a physical library, on-site teachers who are there full-time, who are living there with their families. The other way would be through what we call our Mobile Theological Mentoring Corps. And this is an idea that we borrowed from the Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church. They had it. It's not exactly the same, but we morphed it. We made some rules for who we could work with and who we thought we couldn't. And you know what? Over the years, as we have worked in different places, taking theological education, this is primarily to venues, to countries or nations where we either aren't able to put a missionary there, or maybe it would be the wrong thing to put a missionary there. In other words, you say, what? The wrong thing to put a missionary there? Well, sometimes the church has developed all of the basic things it's doing. It's self-governing. It's doing its own evangelism, so it's self-propagating, and it is self-supporting. Maybe some of the pastors are still having to work outside jobs, just like in a colonial America, where a pastor had to teach at a school and pastor a church. So maybe they're not getting full-time salaries, but nevertheless, the denomination is able to have some financial wherewithal. And so sometimes it would be the wrong thing to put a missionary in that place. Why? Because you'd be doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, or you'd be taking away from what they're doing. And so we go into those situations where we're working with an indigenous church to augment the theological education that's already there. So for instance, Camden, you went down recently to Colombia, as you've already shared on a previous show. You gave some lectures on Roman Catholicism, and particularly how Karl Rahner has influenced modern Roman Catholic theology, and you gave some classes on, based on the commentary that you wrote. And so we'll take guys down, and that will augment whatever education is already in that country for pastors by offering some additional education or some aspect to that education that might be more along the lines of an elective if you had a seminary that was able to offer courses of that nature. So those are the basic two. Now, those are the basic two kinds of education. So on-site and also through the Mobile Theological Mentoring Corps. But it's always in both cases, if I can come back to what you were stressing before, in both cases, our focus is how to help the indigenous church. So for instance, Camden, as you know, while we were down in Colombia, I took some time. I met with the presbytery, both men who were ministers and ruling elders, sat down. It wasn't a formal meeting, but that meeting was all about 2022, what kind of classes can we offer that are going to help you? And two of the things that they came up with were a class on the Book of Church Order, namely focusing on the form of government on the one hand and focusing on the Book of Discipline on the other. Now, that's something that you're not going to find that usually in a seminary here in the United States. That's focused more on generality when it's more about the institution. But as I said, our theological education is focused on a particular denomination, working with that particular church, and what will help it equip its men to be pastors in that country.